Hello, Mindset Recovery friends. This is Roberto. It is September 21st, 2024. Um, if you've watched any of my previous videos, you know that this has been a long road to hoe for me. Um, I used drugs and alcohol religiously for 35 years. I ended up having a stroke in 2019, major life event. Made me decide that I'd been in and out of 12-step recovery, but as they say in AA, half measures availed us nothing. Well, I was the poster child for half measures, and had a relationship with God from my youth. I was my higher power, the God of the Bible, but learned after I got serious about getting clean, I learned that I needed to apply the principles of 12-step recovery and follow suggestions and do everything that I had been basically half-assing for the last 35 years. And the discipline that I learned in Narcotics Anonymous helped me to finally get free of using drugs and alcohol. Um, but what it really has done for me, what I've realized is that connection with your higher power that the 12 steps say is the programs say that's what the 12 steps are for. Getting a conscious contact with your higher power, having a spiritual awakening or spiritual experience. It also says in a literature that we tried, I can't remember the exact terminology, but basically religion, psychiatry, jails, institutions, stuff like that. Nothing was sufficient for us. So that's really exactly the way I feel about it. I had, I wouldn't call it, well, it was religion at that time. I considered myself to be a Christian, went to church, read the Bible, gave money to the church in the form of tithes, went to, different 12 step fellowships in the church and also secular ones, AA and NA, but they were insufficient for me with my religion. So what I found is that, my belief is that, what we're not looking for religion. Religion is following rules. It's a dogma. It's like if you do these certain steps and these certain things that, you'll get free. That's not been my experience. The spiritual experience is what I found through the discipline of working the 12 steps that connected me to the higher power that I had had as a youth. But that religious belief that I had and the praying and the begging for God to release me from addiction and things like that were not sufficient for me. So when I started to become disciplined and follow the steps and increase my conscious contact with my higher power that I call God, specifically in Celebrate Recovery, Jesus Christ, they're both God. It's complicated to understand for a person, especially who is not involved in the Christian religion, but the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit are all one God in three parts. And, that's something that you have to discover on your own through the steps, through that. People who are averse to being involved in organized religion are going to reject that for whatever reason. And I mean, that's why NA is good because it accepts people and allows you to have a higher power of your understanding. But what I would say is my higher power is not of my understanding, because if I have the ability to understand a higher power, then obviously it's not that much greater than me if I can understand it. So, I mean, I understand a lot of things about God, but I can't really say that I understand him 100% because I don't think the human mind has the capacity. And that's really the difference with addiction. I had I believe that I was searching for that relationship, and I was unhappy because I didn't have it. I didn't consciously comprehend any of this. This is what I've learned from step work and increasing my conscious contact with God, is that I was unhappy, I was miserable, and I was using people, places, and things to try to fill that hole in my life, that vacuum that was supposed to be filled by my higher power. And so now that I have a conscious contact with my higher power, I kind of see everything from a bird's eye view, and I understand the importance of following a program of recovery, a 12-step program of recovery. But my personal experience is that a lot of the people in secular 12-step recovery maybe use that higher power of their understanding to limit the actual, you know, power of the universe, whatever that is. I believe it's God. God is just a generally accepted term for a supreme being. But I think a lot of people, they think that they have a grasp on that. And then they kind of take, because you're supposed to give up your will to your higher power's will. So a lot of people that I see in the program, when they get a substantial amount of time clean, they don't realize that their self-will takes back over, and they kind of feel like they've got this now because they understand the principles and the steps, and they've been doing this a while. And so they don't realize that they're taking the reins of control back. And so, like for me, I kind of feel like I evolved past the person that was my sponsor at that time, for the last 2 years. Recently fired me because of some disagreements with the program. And, I feel like, I mean, you want to say that I really have started to believe that maybe I'm not an addict. That doesn't mean that I have because I lost the desire to use. I don't want to get high. I don't want to go back to the shit show that was my life, using against my will and almost killing myself and having all kinds of health problems as a result of using against my will. I don't want to do that. But, something that he told me was that I could do anything that I wanted to do as long as I was willing to accept the consequences. And so, what I found, and I've shared in previous videos, I've decided that I think I can drink 1 beer a year on my birthday. Now, that could be a horrible plan, but so far, so good. And so, one of the things that he suggested to me to do to prove to me that I was an alcoholic, addict, whatever you want to call it, was to get a case of beer and attempt some controlled drinking over a 2-week period. Now, that is something that I've heard in recovery. It's suggested for people, like, let's say that you are a heavy drinker or an alcoholic. You come to AA or NA and you start learning about addiction and the disease model and all that, and you refuse to accept that. You've got it under control. You can stop at any time, whatever your rationalization for it is. If you are truly addicted to alcohol and you attempt to control drink for that period of time, it's going to spin out of control. You might make it a day, you might make it a week. He told me personally he made it over a week, and then it went out of control for him. So now he suggested that for me. I think I'm in a different situation. I don't think I have it under control. I don't think that I would even want to put myself in the position of having a case of beer in my possession. I mean, I might make it. I don't know. Maybe I'll make it as long as he did. Maybe I'd make it the whole 2 weeks. But the thing is, I don't have a desire to do that today. I know that I run into problems when I catch an alcohol buzz, because alcohol is controls the inhibition part of your brain. So I mean, that's why I think women would be able to understand that most of the time that they end up doing something sexual with somebody that turns out to be a bad idea, and they regret it, that there was probably alcohol involved. I mean, I know that I did a lot of stupid things when I was drinking, and so I don't want to become intoxicated. But I'm also not a person, after spending over 2 years away from alcohol on a regular basis, that wants to get drunk. I mean, part of my problem with my stroke is it was a cerebellar stroke. So that affects your balance and coordination. And so what I found is I had a high tolerance to alcohol and I didn't get drunk off of 2 or 3 beers, but because of the fact that I'm wobbly and, have some kind of, vertigo anyway, naturally, completely sober, I pour alcohol on that and it's multiplied. So, if I drink a 6 pack of beer, I might not be shit faced, but I am definitely going to end up in the floor or, trying to get in my car and drive to the bar and find drugs or who knows what I might do. Get in a car accident, kill myself, hurt somebody else. So I don't want to get in the ring with alcohol like that. But, I feel like I could handle drinking a beer a year on my birthday. So, I didn't go into this much detail in the last video, but what I have done is, I went 15 months with no alcohol or drugs and I drank 1 beer. And then I decided that I wanted to drink a beer a year on my birthday after that. But I started over my clean time because in Narcotics Anonymous, the time that you spend away from drugs and alcohol, they consider that clean. You're clean. But my birthday came before my year clean date from the 1 beer that I had had. So I did not drink on my birthday. Instead, I postponed that celebratory beer to my 1 year anniversary, which was in August. So I told my sponsor around that time that I planned on drinking a beer a year, and he didn't react. I mean, like I said in the last video, I'm pretty sure he was not going to be happy about it because that's not the NA way. And I knew that he would be concerned and that he would probably not appreciate it. But, he reacted a lot more harshly than I thought, fired me as his sponsee, refused to work any more steps with me. And, that's fine. He has strong convictions about this program. But so I ended up celebrating and I drank 2 beers. And I only bought 2 beers and I drank my 2 beers and I didn't even really catch a buzz off of 2 beers, but I mean, I felt it a little bit. And then I went to bed. And then, a couple weeks later, I drank 2 beers again. And then, I don't know, a week later, I on the weekends got paid whatever. I bought a few more beers, less than like I think I bought 3 that one time. And then I decided that that was too many. So then, I went a couple more weeks and I drank 2 beers. And so, I don't want to start drinking again. I don't want to start getting drunk. I think that was kind of like, I felt like it was freedom since I had made the decision that I wasn't going to strictly adhere to Narcotics Anonymous rules. And Celebrate Recovery has kind of a different philosophy about it. It's based on the Bible. So in the Bible, drinking isn't a sin. People in the Bible drank alcohol, they drank wine. Jesus turned water into wine. He drank wine at, the wedding feast that he turned water into wine. It doesn't say he got shit-faced drunk and fell down and went out and did crazy stuff with prostitutes or anything. Obviously, he handled his liquor, but it does say that, practicing drunkenness is sinful in the Bible. So what my CR sponsor told me was, if I were to drink on occasion, the way that gentlemen should drink, I don't think you use that terminology. That's from AA. Can drink like a gentleman, not get drunk, not go out and drive around, not get intoxicated to the point where I want to go buy hard drugs. Occasionally, that's acceptable. So I think I kind of rationalized that in my head. And so I did drink a few times, but I never had the desire to get drunk. I haven't gotten drunk. And so then I ran into a guy downtown the other day I knew him a lot from AA, but he also went to NA and he considers himself to be an alcoholic and he got into some trouble with the law. He considers himself to be an addict. And, when he drinks, he goes crazy. He does hard drugs and he's a felon. And so, If he gets caught with drugs or he gets caught drunk in public or something, he goes to prison. So he doesn't drink anymore. And he uses 12-step recovery to help him stop drinking. He used it. And so now he's still familiar with those programs and he still advocates for them, but he's very active in the church. And he does chooses not to drink any alcohol because he knows how he is. He's crazy when he gets drunk or does drugs. So I was telling him about my situation, and I don't know that he's an expert. He's not a doctor or anything, but he said, "Oh, you're not an alcoholic." And I said, "Okay." And he's like, "So you successfully, on multiple occasions, drank a beer or two or three at the most, and regulated that, moderated your drinking, and then didn't do it again for a period of time, and then did it again and successfully did it." He's like, "Well, there's three kinds of drinkers in AA. One of them is you can take it or leave it. Another one is the guy who, he drinks to excess, he gets crazy, and he drinks too much. But if something in his life happens that is sufficiently impactful to him, like he gets married or a child's born or whatever, gets a new job, he can stop." And then there's the true alcoholic, and that person, like NA says, one is too many and 1,000 is never enough. I think AA, it's been so long, but like one is too many and 100's never enough. But whatever it is, because I don't think anybody can drink 100 beers, you probably die, or 100 shots of liquor, or what have you. So that's the point. Like, they don't stop until they pass out drunk. And I don't think I was ever that guy. I would drink until I fell asleep, passed out, whatever, on occasion. Towards the end, I moderated my alcohol and drug use. It was more than I wanted to. I couldn't stop. But, on occasion, if I needed to stop, for some reason, like I remember when I was real bad on, always joke around saying I don't like hard drugs. I like soft powdery ones. So during the period, I went for a long period of time. I was bad on soft powdery drugs when I was in my 20s. And then I lost contact. The guy went to prison that I was dealing with. And so I went until I was 50 years old. I might have found that substance a few times and, not been able to control myself with it. But when it was gone, it was gone. And, there's nothing I can do about it. I didn't have to go check into rehab or anything. I went on about my life. But I was dealing a lot of marijuana when I was around 50. And the guy that I was getting my marijuana from, all of a sudden, he started being able to get my drug of choice. And it was good quality. And and I had a line of credit with him, and I was off to the races, man. It took me 3 years. So when I was 53, I was out of control, and I was, used against my will. I was spending all the money I was making off of selling weed on my drug of choice. And, but during that time, I was talking about it today, I wrecked my car when I was drinking one night. And I had been steadily doing a certain quantity, spending, close to $1,000 a week on that drug. And I wrecked my car, and I need my car for work. And that was before I had my stroke. So I had to chill out and just use the money that I was making from selling drugs to get my car fixed. And so even though I had been in the habit of doing $1,000 worth of this drug for a while every week, I stopped that week. And when I made the $1,000 or whatever it cost to get my car fixed, I got my car fixed. And then, of course, I went back to my previous behavior. But I mean, I could stop for that period of time. I mean, that doesn't mean I still didn't drink and I still didn't smoke weed or whatever, but I stopped doing my drug of choice, which was expensive, and got my car fixed. So, I mean, when something substantial happened in my life that I had to stop, I did stop. But then I end up at 53. I was burning the candle at both ends. I was working at a country club as a chef. I was buying, $1,000 worth of my drug of choice a week, and my body was old, and I was staying up late, having to get up early to go to work, and I finally just my body couldn't take it anymore physically. I had a stroke, ended up in the hospital, couldn't work, lost my job because I couldn't go to work and didn't have income. And so at that time, I'd hit my bottom that I had been praying to hit for years and years, and just hoping that God would remove the desire to use from me. Found out, through my knowledge of my higher power now, is that my God doesn't do for me things that I can do for myself. If I'm not willing to help myself, He's not going to intervene and sprinkle fairy dust on me and fix me, say a magic word or whatever. That's just not how He works. But I was just like, I can't do this. You have to do it. And He was like, no, I'll help you do it, but you have to want to do it and you have to try. And that's when I found success. And so I've realized now that I was operating out of fear. I'd been doing that for so long that I didn't think I was going to be able to stop. I had been putting some sort of substance in my body from the age of 14 to the age of 53, and I didn't believe that I could stop. So I had to have faith, and then I had to exercise that faith, because faith without works is dead. Works by itself isn't going to fix you, but faith without works is not going to fix you either. That you need a combination. So I had to believe that the program of Narcotics Anonymous, the 12 steps, was going to work, and I had to apply the principles, and I had to decide that I wasn't going to use drugs or alcohol. And so I successfully have gone over 2 years without getting high or drunk, have consumed beers on a few occasions. Over the first 2 years, just, you know, 3 beers total. And then since that last year of clean time, I have drank a few beers and I got drunk on like 4 occasions, I think. And so, I don't think that's possible to be cured if you're an addict. So the fact that I can do that, I think it's a combination of factors. I think I'm getting some self control, and I think I've learned, I know that if I get drunk, it's off to the races. I'm going to probably go try to find some drugs. I don't trust the drugs that are around right now. A lot of people are dying from stuff being in them that they didn't realize they were buying. And, there's no coming back from that. You OD on some of those things that are out there now, and you're done. By the time if someone's there to call 911, by the time they get there, you're done. And I got no desire to fool with that. And as far as the alcohol, I don't want to get drunk, but I do want to have a beer or two every once in a while. I would like to limit it to special occasions, my birthday, maybe if I go to a concert or something, go with somebody who's not a drinker, you know, have some accountability. And so I feel like, maybe I'm not actually an addict, but I had to follow a program of complete abstinence for a long period of time to build my relationship with my higher power and learn some self control. And so, I'm not advocating that for someone who knows that you're an addict or an alcoholic. I'm not advocating it for anyone. I'm just saying, for me, I feel like I've had an epiphany that, I did moderate my drug use and alcohol use to an extent that it lasted me until the age of 53 without dying, but it got out of control there at the end, and I was in trouble, and I had to do something drastic to change that. My health is a lot better. My mental state's a lot better. My relationship with God is a lot better. My relationship with other people's a lot better. Um, I like the job that I have now better. I'm physically, I have limitations, for the rest of my life, unless something miraculous happens that, I'm on disability now. But I just feel like, I see things in a new light. I think 12-step work is pivotal to this process. It's learning about yourself, becoming introspective and self-aware. And I found somebody who's got 24 years clean from drugs and alcohol that's willing to continue working steps with me. I'm not an expert on the steps by any means, but I do have experience with them. I've worked them probably 3 or 4 times in AA. NA is much more intensive. They have a step working guide that I went through with my sponsor before he fired me, all the way to step 10. I finished step 10 with my new sponsor. I'm now working on step 11. And so in the other program of Celebrate Recovery, I know more than other people in there from my experience. And so I am doing a step study, which I didn't realize when I got into CR. They do it differently. You don't necessarily have to work it one on one with another person. You can, if you've got a sponsor and you want to work it with your sponsor, you can. But if you have somebody who's just further along the recovery path with you, that they call an accountability partner, you can work steps with them. They have a step working guide, but generally they like to have a class with people that want to be in it, and they work it together. And so they asked me to lead that class because I had experience. And, the recovery pastor's known me for, I've been going since 2008. He sees the improvement. He helped me get my job. I work in the recovery field now. I'm a peer support specialist, and he trusted me to facilitate this class. I'm not teaching it, but I'm there to kind of help the guys get through it, and we're getting a lot out of it. Building relationships is key. What I found out in recovery is that the opposite of addiction is not abstinence, it's relationships. So a lot of what happens is, I've found that a lot of addicts share that they always felt like they were outsiders, or they were weird, or outcasts, or whatever. So they didn't have a lot of real relationships with people. I found that a lot of people in recovery, maybe their parents were divorced, or, they had some kind of trauma going on in their lives, and they just felt disconnected. And so they found community with people that were using. That's definitely true for me. I was a nerd in school. I got good grades, so I got teased. I was a fat kid. So I used humor to diffuse situations. And, I kind of was a chameleon and fit in with everybody so that people would like me. And, as soon as I found the drug crowd, man, I was accepted immediately. I could drink more than you. I could smoke more than you. I dealt drugs so that I was the cool guy that everybody was calling me to get dope from. But that was a persona that I took on. That wasn't the real me. And now I don't need that stuff. And actually, I found that running in those circles actually keeps me sick. And so, now I help people get out of that. And, 12 step recovery is awesome. If you can work the steps, you learn about yourself, you learn about those traumatic things that happened to you, wrong beliefs that you had from the time you were a child. I really feel like, we used bad coping skills to deal with things that we couldn't process in our child minds. And we never matured emotionally or mentally. We kind of stayed that age perpetually. And so as soon as the drugs are removed from our lives and our brains start working right, and we start going through this therapeutic process of working with another person and learning to have an intimate relationship that's non-sexual with another person who cares about us, we can take this journey through the steps and go back inside and process these things that we couldn't process as a child. And we built these negative coping mechanisms around these things that we couldn't process as a child because we had a skewed perception of them. And now we can reprocess them and see what was really behind the things that led to our acting out behavior. So anyway, that's a lot, but this is Roberto. I'm signing off. I'm not a counselor. I have experience, strength, and hope in recovery. Learned how to stop using against my will. Gained a little self-control. So, mainly, I still go to NA meetings because I like the fellowship and I have close relationships that I've made in there. But I concentrate more on Celebrate Recovery, which is a Christ centered 12-step program based on AA that they say that in their opinion, I guess, the 12 steps came from the Beatitudes in the Bible. And, now I don't think there's any documentation for that, but they definitely fit well with the steps. If you've ever read the biblical comparison of the 12 steps from CR literature, they're definitely, I believe, the spiritual principles of AA came from biblical principles. And the reason they work is because I believe it was a God inspired program. And so, they talked about in there the God of your understanding. Well, what I know from AA history is that they were Christians. So different denominations understand God in a different way. So when they said the God of your understanding, they meant like if I'm Catholic and you're Baptist, maybe we understand God in a different way, but it's the same God. So the principles all come from his book. And then there were atheists and different people who didn't believe that way. So AA was kind of accepting. They were like the God of your understanding. And, I believe that's important because then everyone's welcome. You work the 12 steps. They're designed to connect you with a higher power. You get in contact with God as however you understand God. And, if you're really connected with God, he can do whatever he wants. He could, it's up to him the way things go. We turn our life and our will over to the care of the God of our understanding. And so if we really turn it over to him, he's free to help us believe however he wants us to believe. And it's an evolutionary process where people will change from, a lot of people that don't believe in any particular God. They believe in the program. They believe in the literature. I mean, it's whatever. You just have to trust that it works and you just have to work it. And 20 years later, who knows what your understanding of a higher power will be. But anyway, this is Roberto. And if you want to contact me, like I said, I'm not a therapist or a doctor or anything, but my personal email is piaster67 at hotmail.com, which is P as in Paul, IA, S as in Sam, T as in Thomas, ER67 at hotmail.com. If you put mindset recovery in the subject line, if you have questions about, literature resources or meetings or something like that, questions about a step, I'll do my best to help you. I don't have any money to give anyone, but I'm welcome. If you want somebody to talk to, you have questions, I'm certainly open to that. So keep fighting the good fight. And, if you want to stop using, the 12 steps offer you a way to lose the desire to use and find a new way to live. And that new way to live has changed my life for the better. So anyway, this is Roberto signing off. Have a good day.